Hello, how are you? Good morning.
I'm a little sleepy.
You're sleepy? Well, we can wake right up. What's up? What's going on with home sales?
Sales of existing homes in May dropped 3.4% to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 5.41 million units. Basically, sales were 8.6% lower than in May 2021. This is the weakest reading since June of 2020 and the beginning of the pandemic.
You know why?
Because of interest rates.
Hey.
I'm gonna say inflation.
Oop, too slow. They made cost of capital expensive. If it's expensive, people don't borrow. If people don't borrow, they don't got the cash to buy the home. On top of that, whenever there's uncertainty in the economic environment, a lot of people say, hey, don't rock the boat. Let's not try to move. Let's not try to go get a new job in a new city. Let's not try, just stay where you are. Shelter in place. You ever hear that?
Yes.
I don't know if in Georgia they had tornado warnings or hurricane warnings. But,
I've sheltered in many places.
Shelter in place. Shelter in the staircase. Right? That's what they used to do the tornado drills. Everyone go in the staircase. You try to find your friends. Hallway education. The whole idea is shelter in place. That's what people do when a recession is coming. You do it when a hurricane's coming, when a tornado's coming, and when a recession's coming. You shelter in place, which means you're not moving, means that there isn't as much demand to buy homes. Then on top of that, you are trying to get any sort of capital. They made it more expensive. The whole idea of raising interest rates and making capital more expensive, they call it demand destruction. The reason why they call it demand destruction is because they are literally destroying the demand, which is exactly why you see less borrowing, which is also why you see home sales going down, because the demand has been destructed.
And there will be a further decline because the impact of higher mortgage rates are not yet fully reflected in this data. So
yeah, the market is slow to realize that, mortgage rates were like 2.5%. Now they're like 5.5%. Mm-hmm. Shit. If you were searching for a home, back in January, February, and now all of a sudden you pick up your head and you're like, oh, I need to go get my loan because I found my dream home. You're like, shit, more than 2x the cost of capital. I don't know. Got to go back to the calculator. Hopefully I got a real one that works. What's up next with facial recognition?
All right. So Microsoft is phasing out its facial recognition technology. It says it's retiring it. Originally, the technology said it could infer emotions as well as characteristics like age, gender, and hair. Obviously, there was backlash. So there was privacy questions, privacy concerns, discrimination, all these things. So now Microsoft is saying goodbye to the AI. Ooh.
That was good. What do you think about this? Do you agree or not agree?
Well, it's so interesting that, first of all, I don't know why that would be interesting to them other than, acquiring data from its users.
I think there's some woke stuff.
I don't think so. I think it's okay. First of all, says the guy who does not use his facial recognition technology on his phone.
I don't use it on my phone. I don't go into Amazon
store.
stores. No, I'm not playing this game.
So how is that?
The reason that they're giving is woke stuff.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's about
I think it's privacy.
I don't think so. What I think they're saying is that the responsible use and this whole idea of discrimination, etc. And what ends up happening, from what I understand in this space, is that if Microsoft doesn't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And so instead, if you actually cared about this problem, you know what you would do?
No.
You would be at the forefront of developing the technology and setting the industry standard for going ahead and being super transparent and open sourcing the algorithms, the data, all this stuff. So by retracting from the industry, what you do is you leave a vacuum for somebody else to come in who we may not be anywhere near as able to pressure them into providing the information.
As a technology company, why does Microsoft need to know my emotions based on my facial expressions? Why do they need to know if I'm sad or happy or sleepy?
Well, an easy example would be don't use Microsoft as an example first, use an egregious example. If Facebook knew that you were happy or sad and they could change the ads that they showed you, that would lead to a better experience. Now, what most people would say is like, oh, you're violating my privacy, whatever. Have you ever seeing an ad in a feed, like if you're on Twitter and all of a sudden, like let's say that I was on Twitter and I was scrolling and all of a sudden I got a ad for pregnant moms. I'd be like, the fuck is it? Like it's like a jarring experience, right? You'd be like, yo, just show me the ad that like fits what I want. Like, that's what people don't recognize, is that if there's going to be ads, you actually want good targeting in the ads because it ends up being relevant to you. Now, you could make the argument that actually I just don't want ads. That's fine. You can make that argument. But if there are ads, you want them to have the ability to target you well. And so the holy grail would be, hey, improve your targeting, but also protect my privacy, also protect my data. And so what Microsoft here would end up doing is they're quote unquote collecting more data. But if you're worried about Microsoft doing facial recognition, don't use your iPhone. Don't walk down the street. If you're in New York City, guess what? There's facial recognition everywhere. With my point being that like one company retracting doesn't necessarily have an impact.
Do you know who else retracted?
Yeah, who?
The IRS. The IRS wanted to use facial, what is it? Facial recognition technology to help with fraud prevention and help people file their taxes online.
So, as an example, there's a company in crypto that I forget the name, I apologize. But there are a number of companies that use this technology. If you want to withdraw funds off of some of these platforms, this company's pitch is we help to do identity verification. And in the user flow, when they demoed it, if I remember correctly, you have to upload legal documentation, so passport or license or some form of ID, front and back, or like the multiple pages of a passport. Then the camera pops up and it says, put your head in like this little hole. And then it makes you look left and right to make sure that it's like a real person. And the reason why they're doing it is for fraud prevention, identity verification, et cetera. And so in that situation, there's many people who would say, hey, it's worth having that technology because there's a level of security. The question becomes, can they protect the information? Do they hold the data? Like all of the other questions. So I don't think that Microsoft pulling out of doing this actually solves the problem that like the privacy proponents want, because you're not going to get everyone to pull out. Instead, don't celebrate that they're pulling out and leaving a vacuum for someone else to fill that we may or may not have the ability to use public shareholder pressure. Instead, get Microsoft to set the standard as to how every single company should present this data, open source it, make sure that we know it's not being used incorrectly.
Yeah.
All right, what's next? Jim Cramer. What's up with Jimmy Chill?
Jim Cramer has a message to young people, Gen Z, 18 to 24, who, according to a recent Deloitte survey, they say, more than half of them say they live paycheck to paycheck. Jim Cramer said, you need to learn how to be more frugal. He said that, he's noticed younger customers at a New York restaurant he owns spend money, quote unquote, as if it grew on a tree. He's seen countless young professionals buying round after round of $14 margaritas after a workday, despite hearing their complaints about student loans or not having enough money to put aside for retirement. This sounds very anecdotal, Jim.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, he has a point, but it sounds very much like get off my lawn type of thing. He said
he lives on a farm.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, it's a farm.
Get off my farm.
He bought his farm with the profits after I convinced him to buy Bitcoin.
He goes, I know you might say, oh, Cramer's rich. I don't want to hear this lecture, but did you live in your car on the side of Interstate 5? So he's talking about a period of time when he was in his 20s living out of his car.
So I don't think that people should go and intentionally torpedo their life quality in order to be frugal. But what I do think is that there's a healthy balance. Yes, do people spend money on dumb things? Of course. But that's not just a young person thing. If you look at people across ages, they spend money on dumb things. And what has happened is that there has been a shift from high quality goods to a now overconsumption type mentality in the United States because the currency continues to be devalued. If you know that the currency that you're paid in is going to lose value over time, you are financially incentivized to get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? You either invest it or you consume. But if you leave it in your bank account, you lose. And so in a period over the last 2 years where 40% of all dollars in circulation have been created, you now have people who are saying, damn, I can't leave it in my bank account. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm either going to invest it or I'm going to consume. And so, yes, people are going to spend money because they're financially incentivized to do it. the whole idea of being frugal, if you had left the money sitting in your bank account, might not actually be better. Now, the other thing I will say is that there's a lot of folks, sounds like Jim Cramer is advocating for this. What's the woman? Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, a bunch of these folks. They're always like, don't spend money, don't spend money, don't spend money, don't spend money, don't go get the $5 coffee, don't go get the $5 coffee. Guess what? You are more likely to find a path to creating $300 more of income per month than most people are in cutting $300 of monthly expenses. If your monthly expenses, let's just say that you don't make a lot of money and your monthly expenses are $1,200. To cut $300, to cut, public math, 25% of your monthly expenses is harder than trying to go find a way to make an extra $300 a month. Now, it's going to require you to work. There's no, fast lane to doing it. But it's easier to make more than it is to cut in that case.
I actually think you're in the minority of that opinion. I think that's a contrarian view. I think most people think it's easier to cut something out than find a way to make more money.
Yeah, they're wrong. Think about that. Take the dollar figures out for a second and say to somebody, cut 25% of your monthly expenses. 25%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That changes your life
but thinking
in a
about,
major way.
How do I make more money? It requires effort. It requires time. It requires ideas.
Again, you got to do work. You got to actually say, this is something that I want to figure out. It doesn't just fall out of the sky, contrary to the socialist belief. But it is easier to make $300 a month than it is to cut $300 a month out of the average citizen's budget.
I would love to see in the chat if you guys could tell me how you would make an extra $300 a month if you didn't have to cut it.
I bet you I could come up with right now 5 ways to make $300 by the end of the weekend. You want to know what they are? Literally go down the street. First thing I would do is I bet you that you could go wash car windows. Those guys who do the car windows at stoplights, they make a killing.
Really?
Of course. What's a bottle of Windex cost or whatever?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't.
Squeegee. It's like you're in business for $25.
A sponge.
Now all of a sudden, no, you don't need a sponge. You just get a squeegee and you get some Windex. You roll up to someone's car, squirt, squirt.
Okay, but a lot of people don't
Give
want
me $10. Too bad. They just got their thing washed. That's how they make money.
Okay,
Give me the cash.
So now they got their thing washed and then you didn't get any money.
Fine. It cost you 2 cents. That was a 2 cents investment. You do it enough times, you eventually get paid. That's first. Second thing you could do, easy game, is you could easily go, do some math real quick. If you go to a local coffee shop.
Money Mike said I would replace people's fans, light fixtures, switches, outlets, and cut grass.
Easy.
I would hire you immediately.
If you go on TaskRabbit, if you know how to use power tools, you go be a gazillionaire on TaskRabbit. There is nobody who understands that stuff, right? Then, if you also
don't understand.
Hold on. Then, if you also said, I'm literally just going to not reinvent the wheel, I'm going to go cut grass.
Yeah.
And you went to the neighbors and you said, hey, I'm going to spend 2 Saturdays a month and I'm going to charge $30. I got to cut 10 grass. That's 5 on one Saturday, 5 on another. There's your $300.
You're talking about
Get your ass out of your computer chair. Get out of your parents' basement. No, I'm kidding. Not really your parents' basement. Get out and do work, and you can get $300.
So you're saying physical labor is how you would make.
Okay, how about this? Go to literally. I did this actually when I was 21 years old. At one point, I needed to make some extra cash.
I know what he's gonna say. It's a good.
I went to small businesses and I said, "Yo, you need a website?" They're like, "Yeah, I need a website." I'm like, "Cool, I know how to make a website." They're like, "You know how to code?" I was like, "I know how to make a website. Don't worry." They're like, "You know how to code?" I was like, "Don't worry, I know how to make a website." And I said to them, "I'll go build the website, and when I come back, you owe me $500." They're like, "All right, whatever, kid." And I went on WordPress and I built them a WordPress site. And then I went to the businesses. I was like, "You like the website?" And they were like, "We love it." I was like, "Cool, give me my $500." You could do it on Squarespace today. Literally, by the end of today, you could have a ballin' ass website. You make $300 a day.
Yeah, and you put the businesses online, but now we're in 2022. Most of these businesses are probably online.
You want more ideas? I got plenty of ideas.
We're good. What's next?
All right, I just say I'm just $300. Let's go.
So there is a city that is going to be floating. A floating city they are building, big enough to house 20,000 people. It's in the Maldives, and it's not because they want some like wild experiment. It's being built as a practical solution to the rising sea level.
Yeah, they all got to do this.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
This is so interesting to me.
Why?
Like, it's just gonna float?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they created. You know, in is it Dubai, where they created the palms, right?
Wait, what? I don't know.
Yeah, they built it. Singapore.
But-
Singapore was literally built.
Is it rising with the sea?
Singapore, they were like, do you see the sea in front of us? Let's build land there. And they built land.
Oh,
and
interesting.
they grew it. Yeah, of course.
They
it
grew
happens.
the land. That's what happened. But this is really
Literally,
interesting.
it wasn't there. You know how your grandpa's always like, they ain't making more of it. Wrong. Like, they're definitely making more of it now. They figured out how to make more of it.
Do you remember that documentary we saw? I think it was Netflix, about that guy who built a city in the middle of the in the middle of the ocean. Do you remember that?
Seasteading?
Seasteading.
Seasteading is the
that what it
idea
was
that
called?
you can basically tie up some boats together and it
No,
floats in
no,
international
no.
waters, but I don't think that's what
No,
you're talking
do you
about.
remember
No?
that structure? And then it was a city.
Oh, off Italy.
Yes.
The guy built it in Italy.
What
There's
was
a movie. He built basically like essentially just like a structure on stilts, and he said it was his own sovereign nation, and his own sovereign nation off the coast of Italy ended up he popularized it, and people would drive out there on their boats and they would party, and he was like, I don't need a alcohol license. I have my own sovereign nation. And then he was
No,
like,
it was off of Spain or something. What was
It was
it?
Italy.
Oh, dang it.
definitely Italy. It was an
forget
Italian guy.
what it's called.
All right, what's the
Okay.
last thing? Bill Gates. What do we got
All right.
here?
Bill Gates posted this thing about what advice he would give to his younger self.
I'm out.
He said, I was recently asked what advice I would give to young people who want to make a positive impact on the world. It made me think a lot about what I would tell my younger self. Wow, he was a nerd when he was young. I remember this guy. A lot has changed since this photo, but I remember how excited I felt for the next chapter. My advice is simple. Read a lot and discover a skill you enjoy.
That's actually good advice.
Right? Well,
Yeah.
I already read a lot, so I skipped school
No, this
to
is
read.
this is great advice. It basically just educate yourself, invest in yourself, spend time reading. Right. The other thing too that is underrated in the United States of America is some free alpha for folks. You know how many people don't have library cards? When I was a kid, I remember during the summer, my mom would take me and my brothers to the public library, and I forget, like, I think you were allowed to take like 2 books or something. And for whatever reason, I remember we were so fascinated with the idea of like, yo, you just like take them and bring them back, and like you don't have to pay them. And
It
this
did
whole idea,
cost $1 for a library card. With inflation, it's like gone through the roof.
$4, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, library cards. I feel like I don't know that many other countries have as an extensive and robust library system as the United States.
I don't know, but one guy that's really interesting, his name is Brunello Cucinelli. He's like, he built this fashion empire. He's
Is he
Italian. Yeah. But
Sounds like a boss.
He built this massive, massive library on the campus for the workers, for the employees. And it's all like philosophy and the classics, and it's really cool. And he was like, I really think if you have a place like that, it would make people more creative. Also, advice that he gives that I think is really great. He says that he reads the same book every decade of his life. So in his 30s, he'll take something away that's different from his 40s, from his 50s.
So he's brainwashing his employees.
What?
He's selecting what information goes in the library and they read.
I'm sure.
I'm joking.
You're
I
so
think
annoying.
I think
Okay.
that is great advice.
Reread the classics or the books you enjoy.
Do you think that Bill Gates is on the rise or on the decline in society?
Who cares?
Good answer.
Hey you, did you like this video? Great, we make 5 of them a day and post them here on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and see you next time.